Welcome to the Fit Biz Accelerator, your ultimate guide to launching, growing, and scaling a thriving online fitness business. I'm your host, Tobias Young. And whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, this podcast is packed with actionable tips, real-world strategies, and the insights you need to crush your business goals and build the business of your dreams. Now that you're here, let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Fit Biz Accelerator Podcast. I'm your host, Tobias Young. And if you're a fitness coach, personal trainer, or online coach who wants to grow your business, get more clients, and build something that actually gives you freedom, guess what? You're in the right place. Today's episode is going to be a really good one because one of the biggest challenges that coaches face when their business starts to grow is figuring out how to scale without creating more chaos. You know, more clients, more content, more offers, more hours. And before you know it, if the business that was supposed to give you freedom starts to feel heavier than ever, that's exactly what today's guest helps coaches solve. So today, I'm joined by Adam Roach. He's the founder of I Love Coaching, and Adam works with established coaches who already have momentum, but something isn't quite clicking. Maybe growth feels harder than it should. Maybe they're working more hours, but not seeing the results that they want. Or maybe there's a big opportunity available, but they're not stepping into their ownership yet. And Adam helps coaches simplify their model, increase leverage, and scale to 300, 360K and beyond that without adding more complexity. And he brings a lot of real world experience to the table. He successfully scaled and exited 5 companies across industries, including the tennis world, SaaS, and 3 different real estate franchises. So he understands the highs, the lows, and what it actually takes to build a business that works. And today we're going to talk about why so many coaches make growth harder than it needs to be, the difference between ownership and hustle, and how to simplify your coaching model so it scales, what it really takes to build a K plus coaching business, and how to start listening to that little voice that's telling you it's time to step up. So if you're a coach who already has some traction, but you know there's another level that's waiting for you, this conversation is going to give you a lot of clarity. Adam, welcome to the show, big dog.
Bias, man, what an intro, brother. That was solid. I was ready to sign up for that guy's course, whatever it was, man. That was good. Not to mention that the music in there, I was going to start doing some SOPs. That was solid, brother. Thank you for that intro.
Of course, man. That's how we do it here.
Yeah.
And Adam, I would love to start here, right? You've built and you've exited 5 different companies across different type of industries. That's not something that most people get to say. So take us back a little bit. How did your entrepreneurial journey start? What were some of the early lessons that shaped how you approach business? And then finally, how did that eventually lead you to working with coaches?
Love it, brother. Well, if people are watching this, I'll tell you this. When I started it, brother, I had a locks of love. I had long hair. It was good. And now it is gone. So 5 exits later, you and I are the bald brothers, right? No, totally joking there. It's very, very simple. In my opinion, I grew up the son of an Olympic swim coach, and I grew up the grandson of a farmer in the state of Indiana. So all I knew was hard work. All I knew was GSD, get stuff done, right? That's all I knew. And getting into, I got into the tennis world first, right? I played tennis in college, went off to try to play some professional tennis, found out real quick that I was an American, not a European, and I was not going to be playing Andre Agassi anytime soon. And so I got into the tennis business. Why? Because it was a passion. It was a love. It was easy for me to do. And I had a business degree. So I thought, well, this is kind of fun. But here was the crazy part, brother. I'm an Indiana boy, born and raised, go Hoosiers, national champions. Come on.
Let's go.
And I get to Beverly Hills, right? And the first place I found the phone book was called Beverly Hills Tennis. There was no A, there was no C, there was B as Beverly Hills Tennis, Beverly Hills Country Club. And I was like, all right, well, again, this was the 90s, so I'm faxing in my resume, right? And they call there and go, hey, man, your resume speaks for itself. Come on in here. We've got an opportunity for you. Great. So I drive in. I'm driving my Honda Civic into Beverly Hills, brother. I am just, rocking it out. 5-speed Honda Civic 4-door. It was red with a 6-disc changer in the trunk. And I get there and they say, hey, we are really excited for you. We want to hire you. I was like, man, what an incredible opportunity. What am I doing? Well, all we have is a clerical position open, and we want you to answer the phone. Interesting. So I've got a college degree. I've got somewhat pseudo background of professional tennis, and all they want me to do is answer the phones. Now, my ego could have said, screw you. But here's what my hustle, but it's not hustle. It was built in love for doing what I was doing that said, all right, I got nothing else to do. So I literally answered the phones for $7.25 an hour. But here's what I did, Tobias, is I knew I could teach tennis just as well as those guys on the court. So for every 3 lessons that came in that had to get passed out, I put one in my pocket. And I'd call them up, I'd teach them on the side, and I started building my tennis business that way. When they said that I could start teaching tennis on the court, guess what? I brought those clients with me, and I had a book of business. Within 3 years, they offered for me to be the general manager of it. And within 4 years, because I had a goal of 10 years to own my own club, they gave me equity in the company because I had grown it so much. So that started me in the world of understanding what it meant to be a K1 earner, right? I had no idea what that meant to be a K1 earner. But I tell you what, now I'm obsessed with having K1s. That's all I want. I just want K1s everywhere. And getting distributions from a company was foreign to me. I didn't know what that meant, right? And now that's I'm obsessed with, right? It's like, how many businesses can we be in where we have K1s and we can get distributions? So if I decide that I want to go to my son or my daughter's tennis tournament and it's a week long and it's in California or it's in wherever, the Caribbean, I'm out because I can do that. So that was literally the entry of who Adam Roach was. One of my clients, tennis-wise, was a lender. He said, you should buy a house. I was like, cool. I don't know how to buy a house. It's the early 2000s now. And he says, don't worry. We'll give you 100% of the loan, and you just state your income. You don't have to prove anything.
Wow.
We know how that all ended up for everybody. But then I did that, and like 9 months later, he says, sell that house. I was like, why? I still didn't know the game, right? And he says, trust me, sell the house. I said, my parents have lived in the same house for 35 years. Why would I want to sell that house? And they said, here's the thing. When you sell it, you'll probably make money. It's called appreciation. Still didn't know what that meant. Sold the house. He put $90,000 in my pocket, and I'm 28 years old. I was like, now that was a lot of fun. Let's go do it again. So that entered me into the real estate world of flipping, wholesaling, and learning how to do that, which then got me into the Keller Williams world of brokerage. And I realized, though, being an agent, Tobias, that's not what I wanted to do, because the one-to-one approach to that just didn't feel right. I watched the owner. I used to teach the owner tennis, and he was a one-to-many. And that one-to-many simply meant he had one, and then he had the many agents, right? I don't mean many, I mean M-A-N. And I was like, whoa, there's more distributions. There's more ownership. That's what I want to do. So I left Beverly Hills, went back to Indiana. That was not what I wanted to do, but I did it because of a sacrifice to start in the process of building what I called my enterprise. And moved from Indiana down to Charleston, South Carolina after 2 years because I did not want to be back in Indiana. The weather there, I'm a warm-blooded boy. I need to be where it's hot. And this is where I started buying franchises. By 2007, I owned 3 franchises. I had built a software company inside of it. And by 2019, my Olympic swim coach father had passed from Parkinson's-related issues. And I called it the beach chair moment. I'll summarize this real quick. I went to my beach chair, a very spiritual guy, and I sat on the beach, and I prayed. I journaled. I brought my Bible with me. I cried. I kept hearing, surround yourself with better people. Surround yourself with different people. Because we know in Proverbs it says, when you surround yourself with the right people, you will win. But if you surround yourself with fools, it'll harm you. And so I leaned into that. And I walked into my franchise ownership investor groups and I said, hey guys, either I'm buying you all out today or you're buying me out. I don't care. I've surrendered to this. Next thing I know, they're buying me out. What I witnessed at my father's funeral was the impact he had had on so many people, both students, athletes, parents. And I thought, I feel called to do that. And that's why I created the I Love Coaching community. And here we are now. We've been on 4 continents, and it's the best feeling in the world to serve people, to help them step into the space of what they're called to build, as you said in the intro. Mm-hmm. And brother, just unleash them into the world that they were supposed to go serve in, and let them do it at the highest level. But most people won't do it because they won't listen to that little calling. They won't listen to that little voice you talked about. And that's where you and I get to really lean into these people and say, take the chains off. Let's go.
Let's freaking go. Yeah. Heck yeah, man.
That's a long-winded story there, but that's how we got here today, my friend.
Thank you for sharing that, Adam. And one thing too that you talk about a lot is how growth shouldn't feel as heavy as it does for many coaches, right? And I see this all the time in the fitness industry too. Coaches start out excited, they get a few clients, then suddenly they're overwhelmed. What are some of the biggest reasons you see coaches actually making growth harder than it needs to be?
Well, again, growth can be defined in many ways, right? Are we talking about growth as it relates to revenue? Are we talking about growth as it relates to clients? Are we talking about growth as it relates to your systems, right? Now, I want your audience to hear this. There's an acronym for the word system. System stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. And growth becomes hard when you do not have systems. Save yourself time, energy, and money. Systems can also be known as SOPs, standard operating procedures. So as I coach coaches that are building businesses and verticals in any industry, what I notice is I can see when they start to get bogged down, because I call it shouldering. They're attempting to shoulder the business. You've got massive shoulders. We can carry a lot on these shoulders, but brother, it gets heavy quick. And that's because you don't have any SOPs. That's because you don't have any systems. I remember starting off in this business in 2019, and I'd send my clients Venmo requests for paying their bills, right? I'd send every single one of them that were one-on-one an email at the end of each month with their progression, with what we covered. And I would always ask at the bottom, hey, I'm looking for more clients. Who else can I serve? Can you connect me? And I'd send them a Venmo link. Brother, that took like 2 hours. That was long. And that's heavy growth, right? So the simple answer there is, I always tell them to kind of look down at their business as a 50,000 foot view. Look down. Where do you see bottlenecks, right? Where are you feeling bottlenecks? Because if you're not inspecting what you expect, you're going to have a heavy feeling business. And then you can go back to a W-2 job where someone tells you what to do and you get to clock in and clock out. But that's BS in my world, right? The W-2 is bad language to me, because at the end of the day, I'm in control of me. I'm going to step into my God-given talents. And at the end of the day, I'm here to serve people. So if you're feeling that it's heavy, I want you to go look at your systems or your lack of.
Yeah, I'm huge on systems. That's one of the things that completely changed the game for me. Because like you were saying, if you don't have systems, you're going to eventually burn out, because you can only get so far trying to do everything manually. And you talk about something I really like, and this is the idea of ownership over hustle. And I think a lot of coaches have also been conditioned to believe that success comes from just working harder, right? More content, more posts, more hours, but that's not always the answer. So how do you define true ownership in a coaching business? And then what shifts when a coach starts thinking that way?
That's so good. Well, I just was able to spend this last weekend, ironically, in Oklahoma. And I was spending the time with the first CEO of Keller Williams. Her name is Mo Anderson. Mo's 89 years old. And brother, she can run circles around you and I still. I mean, that's how strong this lady is. I'll share with you one thing that will help your listeners understand the difference between building a business on visionary focus versus hustle. And that's this word standards, right? When you understand standards, when you understand the standards that you have either set for yourself, set for your clients, set for your business, and you can hold those standards accountable. That can be, who is your ideal avatar, or are you taking every Tom, Dick, and Harry? What standards do you have as it relates to no-shows, right? If someone doesn't show up to a call, do you just, no worries, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I'll reschedule you, right? Because you're afraid you're going to lose them if you upset them. People come into coaching because they need accountability. People come into coaching because they need your direction. So, but if you're feeling you have to hustle, I would ask you to go inspect your standards, right? What standards have you set for your business? What standards have you set for yourself? What standards have you set for your clients, right? What standards overall in your business do you really pay attention to? And then here's the big one that I want you to feel. Keyword feel, not think, feel. Is this language that Mo has taught me for years, but it's standards over presence. And what that means is, are your standards being held even when you are not present? Through your clients, in your business, with whatever it is that you are attempting to build, do your standards outweigh your presence? Because hustle, here's what happens with hustle. Hustle culture is BS, by the way. right? I mean, it's sexy. It's, I'm going to go get it, right? It's so American. And I love America. But come on, you all. Let's bring that down and build smart, right? Let's build something that's smart and not hard to sustain, because hustle culture is not sustainable. You can't do it. It's sexy. It's sexy on the gram, right? But it's not sustainable. So understand your standards. And if you haven't laid those standards out, pause this podcast right now and start to list out, what are your personal standards? What are your business standards? Do your clients know your coaching standards? Do you have accountability with your clients that are standard oriented, that they know that if they don't get something done, they don't get to show up for the next call? Standards. And then you have to hold them all accountable.
I like that. Accountability is huge. And I have an acronym too on kind of like what clients need from you guys as coaches listening in. It's the mask. It's the M is the motivation. The A is the accountability. The S is the structure. And then the K is the knowledge. So just kind of tying in everything that you're saying right there, Adam. I love it, man. And a lot of coaches try to scale by adding more things, kind of like how we're just talking about that, right? More offers, more funnels, more programs. But you often talk about simplifying the model instead. What are some ways that coaches can simplify their business while still growing the revenue portion?
Yeah, great question. So let's back out of that first. I want to give all the listeners, if you know Darren Hardy, he wrote a book called The Science of Scaling. Phenomenal. Go pick it up. I have no attachment to the outcome there of whether you buy the book or not. Darren's a good friend, though there's a page in there. He talks about the floor and he talks about the ceiling. And I want you to think of like a rectangle box, okay? And we're going to call this rectangle box, in a visual, it's at the bottom of, like, it's on the floor level. And inside this box is your business, right? And it's got all these lines on the inside, and you'll see it when you get the book. All the lines are all the things you are attempting to do inside of this box, right? This box is your business. And the science of scaling, he talks about linear thinking, and linear thinking looks like this. Well, I have a client that pays me $1,500 a month. Okay. Next year, I'm going to retain that client. Now I'm going to charge him $2,000 a month. The following year, if I'm going to retain that client, now I'm going to charge him $2,500 a month. And let's say you have a goal to get to, I don't know, $100,000 of monthly recurring revenue. That is a linear path. That's an up and to the right path. But in scaling, you've got to think that box is the business. And all these lines inside of here, all your moving parts, linearly takes forever. So if you think about, I want to make $100,000 a month, or I want to make $1 million in a year in the business world, you've got to move that box up. Right? It's got to come up higher than the ground floor. It's got to come up. And then all those moving parts, that if you say I want to make $1 million, if you say I want to make 100,000 of MRR, that box, that your business, got to go up. And then all these moving parts, not all of them reach the box, right? So all these little BS little things that you're doing when the box is real low doesn't reach the full box at the top. So now if we have an X and Y axis, we got time and we got money. Now as that box goes up, instead of the linear up and to the right, now you can actually dissect that and get to that $1 million faster, because you've moved up the framework of everything you need to do. You'll see it again in the book. And all the moving parts that you're doing, you don't have to do them all, because they don't matter when you're looking to scale the business to a higher level. And I know that that's kind of hard to visualize maybe without the book or without the visualization, but that book does an incredible job of explaining the simplicity of scaling, which is why I call it The Science of Scaling.
One more time, the name of the book, The Science of Scaling?
Science of Scaling, yeah.
Science of Scaling. Okay, cool. By Darren Hardy.
Again, I don't know if we're going to be seen visually, but here it is, The Science of Scaling.
Awesome. Love it. So I love listening to Audible and Audible books and all that stuff. So I'm going to actually get that one too. So, yeah, and you specifically help coaches scale to around 360,000, let's just say 360 per year and beyond, which is really interesting of a target, because that's about 30K a month, as we all know. And for a lot of coaches listening, that might feel like a huge jump. What are some of the key shifts that a coach needs to make when they make a move from, say, $5,000 or $10,000 months to like scaling to that 30K a month level?
Yeah, great question. So we have, again, more visual here. I have a blueprint, right? And that's this guy right here. I know, again, for the people that aren't watching, I have blueprint in my hand, and this is version 8. Right. So again, as your business grows and progresses, you've got to adjust. This is an SOP, by the way. You've got to adjust and build upon your SOPs. So phase 2 of this blueprint teaches coaches how to simply go out and understand what we call is the payoff, right? This is where I believe a lot of coaches make mistakes. Is I get into coaching. I'm a coach. Fantastic. I'm going to charge somebody $1,500 a month. Fantastic. What are they going to get? Me. No, that's not what we do. You are not for sale, Mr. or Mrs. Coach. Your payoff is what's for sale. Okay, I'm going to say it again. You are not for sale. Your payoff is for sale. And we call this the ownership path. You have to understand the payoff that you are giving to a client is in alignment with what they desire in their life. So let's just go back to that $1 million example. Tobias, if you came to me and said, hey, I'm looking to scale my business to $1 million, fantastic. I could actually do that because I've done that. Only coach what you know you can accomplish because you've accomplished it. Okay, so I'll say that one crystal clear there. If you're stepping into a space of, gosh, I'm going to teach someone how to make $1 billion and you've never made $1 billion, you're what we call inauthentic. And you're going to show up inauthentic and you're not going to retain that client. So going from phase 2, which is how do I go get one-on-one coaching clients, we teach you how to understand the payoff that the client is going to get, and then you get to charge them accordingly. We call it the 1/10 rule. So if I can help you get to $1 million, I can charge you $100,000. Who wouldn't invest $100,000 to go make $1 million? And I've had people do that. Inside of phase 1, we're going to teach you how to go get 10 one-on-one coaching clients. 10 one-on-one coaching clients that desire the payoff that you have and you can articulate will attract them into your world. Great. Now, we call that doing it to keep your lights on because some people have to go from a survivor job into coaching. Last year in our community, we retired 18 people. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 18 people who went through the blueprint were able to retire from their survivor job into the world of coaching and do it full time. So once you have those one-on-one coaching clients that can keep your lights on and you can retire from your survivor job and you understand your payoff, now we take you into phase 3. Phase 3, there's only 4 phases. Phase 3, brother, is now where we teach you how to go from a one-to-one approach to a one-to-many approach. Sounds simple. It is if you understand the payoff. It is if you understand how to attract. It is, we have a cycle or a sequence. I'll pull this up here. Well, again, you're not going to see it. It goes like this. We call it the process. Phase 1, process is step 1 is you understand the payoff. That's clarity. Step 2 is math. The math has to math for you, coach, to build confidence. Step 3 is who's my audience, right? Once you understand your audience, you can now go find the warm before the cold. Most people like to go to cold first, and you will not build a business fast by going to cold first. Channels. Okay, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th step here, channels. You have to understand what channels and where your audience lives. Some people say be on all channels. I say in the beginning, be on one channel, but that one channel better be where all your audience lives. Then we go into connect. Once you know that your audience lives on this one channel, what are you doing to connect to that audience? Enroll. What is your system to enroll them into your ecosystem? You better have a system and or an SOP there. And then lastly, you get to build proof. Long answer, but going from phase 2, one-on-one to phase 3, a one-to-many, that has to be defined because now we can go one-to-many, called the gravity model, where you can pull people into this center of your universe from a one-to-many approach. And I'll share with you, I had a coach the other day send me a Stan Store receipt, and it was for $82,000 for the month. Why? Because he understood his one-to-one process. He understood his payoff. And now he had actually gone out in the gravity model and said, okay, fine. Here's my payoff, right? Here's the invite to my payoff. You don't have to answer any other questions because the payoff should be that crystal clear. They then come into your gravity model and they sign up for your one-to-many approach. We say when you go into the one-to-many, now what you get to do, let's say that you are building, you had $180,000 to start. Now we're going to double it. Great. Well, how do we double it, Adam? Well, you do the math on how do I take my 180 and now build another 180 over here in the one-to-many, but it only takes you 1 hour versus your one-to-one. This takes you 1 hour, and now we get to release the one-to-one clients because you're already making that. But now people from your group will want to be with you, and we call that proximity. People pay for proximity. And the language that we use for that is people have to pay attention. And people who pay a lot of attention. So now if you were charging someone $2,000 a month because that was your payoff, charge them $5,000, charge them $10,000. I've charged people $30,000, 8-hour session. Why? Because I knew I could with the payoff, and it was a one-to-one approach, and it was a limited time, and it was a compression of time. So hope that answered the question, but that's the process.
Wow. I love the process right there, man. And you mentioned something I think a lot of people can relate to before too. And this is the little voice that's inside telling them that it's time to take the next step. But a lot of people ignore it. They wait, they hesitate, they second guess themselves. So why do you think so many resist the voice? And then what happens when they finally listen?
Oh, it's so good. That's such a great question. There's so many listeners right now, Tobias, that are in this space. I wish I could coach. I wish I could go do what Adam just described. I wish. You can. You really, really can. But your container that you're coming from is what we call conditioning you to think a certain way. And that conditioning is what's causing you not to act, right? My beach show moment. Now, that was a God thing for me, and I knew I had to surrender to it. This awareness, right? We call it the awareness phase. When you are in the awareness phase, you are aware that you're having success in your current seat, but you're feeling called to do something else. And you can do something with that awareness, and that starts with the word see and ends with courage. You got to have courage. You got to have courage to listen to this little voice. Now, why don't we take the step? We don't take the step because we don't have clarity and we are listening to yesterday's voice. Another book I'll recommend is Be Your Future Self Now. Be Your Future Self Now says this very clearly. And I'll give an example of this after I explain it. Our self today, which is present, is fully conditioned action-wise on yesterday's version of you. Okay? Until you take ownership of your tomorrow self and get pulled by your future self, not staying in a lane of conditioning from yesterday. Here's an example. 3 years ago, I hired a nutritionist and a great guy, big dude, kind of scary. And he gave me a cleanse. Now, this cleanse was a 16-day cleanse. And I looked at this cleanse and I was like, man, I've done cleanses before, but this is legit. I get to have chicken. I get to have some steak. There's times where I get to eat all I want. Wow, what kind of cleanse is this? There was one thing on there. I had to drink coffee. I don't drink coffee. Okay. That's just not, I don't know. I don't have anything against coffee. I just don't drink coffee. And I said, hey, I'm all in, though I don't drink coffee. He says, okay, let me ask you a question. Are you going to do the cleanse? I said, yes, I'm going to do the cleanse. I'm feeling it. It feels good. I'm all in. Let's go. But I don't drink coffee. What can I substitute? Can I do tea? Can I do something like that? He says, are you going to do the cleanse, Adam? I said, I don't know what you're missing. Yeah, I'm all in. He says, no, you're not all in. You have to drink coffee. You're doing the cleanse. I said, but I don't drink coffee. He says, that was yesterday's Adam. Yesterday's Adam is telling you that you don't drink coffee. You're present today, but future Adam wants to be ripped. Future Adam wants to be a 50-year-old jacked, right? And the only way to get there is to start with this cleanse if you want to go through my process. So here's what he said. He said, what part of yesterday's Adam are you ready to kill today? I was like, ooh, that's good. He says, yeah, because you're going to have to kill that voice from yesterday that's telling your present self today that you can't do it. You can't do it. And that's what our listeners hear, Tobias, when they think that they want to step into this. Their yesterday's voice is telling them, you probably, that sounds a little, gosh, I just don't know. We got to kill that version, right? But you have to have courage. And what I'll say with that is, who's your coach right now, right? Who's your mentors right now that are pouring into you? Who's your pastor? Who's somebody that you can go share that fear with that'll let them talk through you like this nutritionist did for me. And Tobias, I drank coffee for 16 days and I did ask him if I could do decaf because you don't need me on caffeine. He's like, you can do decaf, brother. I was like, so I did decaf. And so here's what I did. I didn't even know how to make coffee. All right. I'm 49 years old. I'd never made a cup of coffee. So I had someone give me a Keurig. We got one of those Keurigs. I put the coffee in there and it brewed. And then I got a cup of ice and I poured the coffee on the ice and I smashed it like a cold beer. Right. It was just like, because I didn't even like to taste it, but that's kind of what I did. But I had to kill that past version of myself.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. And for the coaches listening too, I want you to think about those words because a lot of you guys are still recognizing yourself as the broke coach, but you're wanting to scale, but your broke mentality is going to keep you in that lane. So until you step into and say, I'm a 6-figure coach or whatever it is, you're going to stay stuck. And Adam, let's do this. Let's jump into the rapid fire round Okay. Just quick answers, just whatever comes first to mind. All right. You ready? All right. What's the biggest mistake coaches make when they're trying to scale?
Great question. First thing that comes to my mind is do what they did yesterday. They can't do what they did yesterday to go scale.
Okay. What's one mindset shift that changes everything for entrepreneurs?
Belief.
Okay. What's one thing that helped you grow faster than everything else?
Having a coach.
Yes, I love that. What's the best piece of business advice that you've ever received from anybody?
Collect as many K1s as you can.
And if a coach listening right now wants to grow their business this year, what's the first step they should take today?
I mean, it's easy. Join the I Love Coaching community. Come get into our blueprint, right? Take this blueprint, join the community of coaches that are helping coaches coach each other. So I have a vision statement. It goes like this: to empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people using the Real Coach method. Real is not an arrogant term. It's an acronym that John Maxwell helped me create. It's relevant, experiential, authentic leaders, because we believe that every coach should be a real coach. And inside of that framework, it's really cool. It's coaches helping coaches grow their business. And at the end of the day, it's not about the Adam Roach show. This is not the Adam Roach show. The beach chair moment, God said, go surround yourself with other people. He didn't say go lead other people. He said surround yourself with better people. And so, Tobias, all day long, I get to reach out to those types of people. I get to put the filter on who I choose to have come into the community that I've created and serve those people.
No better feeling, man.
Yeah, man. No better feeling.
And Adam, this has been an awesome conversation. And I love the focus on clarity, on ownership, and simplifying things, because too many coaches are out there just trying to build these complicated businesses when what they really need is just a clear path forward. If people want to learn more about you, connect with you, or see what you're working on, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, thank you. Just go to ilovecoachingco.com. There is a CO there, so I Love Coaching Co. That stands for community.com. You can go find me on Instagram, Adam R. Roach. So there's 2 R's there in the middle, Adam R. Roach. I have a challenge coming up. I don't know when this is going to be dropped, and that's totally okay. We have a challenge we do every 6 weeks. It's called the 10K Coaching Offer Challenge. And the idea behind that is we help coaches, because we know that coaches, one of their biggest challenges is establishing that offer, establishing that payoff. And so we teach them in a 3-day, 1 hour a day course on how to establish their true payoff that aligns with the value that they can bring to someone. And that's called the 10K Coaching Offer Challenge. So you can find that on ilovecoachingco.com. You'll see it. It's under events, and just jump on in. It's really, really cool.
Amazing. And to everyone listening, if you got value from this podcast, make sure you subscribe to the Fit Biz Accelerator Podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you know another coach who's trying to grow their online fitness business, share this episode with them. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep accelerating your fitness biz. Thanks for tuning into the Fit Biz Accelerator. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a tip or strategy to grow your online fitness business. And if you're ready to fast track your success, don't forget to check out tntfitprocoaching.com. Until next time, stay consistent, stay focused, and keep crushing it.